5:32. We have some technical difficulties here. He's going to try. Oh, yeah, sorry. Call the meeting to order at 5:32. We have some technical difficulties trying to get the agenda pulled up. But we'll call the meeting to order and reading of the district's mission statement, providing an exceptional education where all students are known, valued, and empowered to thrive. And then we have our core values and beliefs. Integrity, we believe in operating with honesty, doing what's right even when no one is looking, and being accountable for our actions. Growth, we believe in providing safe opportunities and support to excel academically, socially, emotionally, and physically. And then connection, we believe in fostering internal and external partnerships with transparent communication at all levels. Are there any additional items for the agenda? If not, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll motion.
Dave Olson, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Joni Olson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. 5-0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. All right, recognition of visitors and open forum. We have some people here of the press. Sorry, I don't know your name, but.
Jr. with the Janesville Journal.
Okay, all right, nice to meet you. And Michael Roy and Jolene is here. Thank you all. Positive recognition. I have a few things. Our bowling team took 4th place at the state tournament on November 22nd, so that was a huge accomplishment for them. And then also Michaela Wheelock broke a school record the other night with 8 threes. And then I know this isn't really a recognition, but I just wanted to say prayers to the families and students at Stewartville High School after everything that had happened this past weekend. Any other recognition or anything? Okay. Resolution accepting donations. We have a donation. The donor is JWP Preschool for $544 for a storage unit, and JWP Softball $1,000 to update the softball dugouts. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved with many things.
It's Kevin Bourne. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
It's Joni Olson, and it's a resolution.
Cahill?
Yes.
Seiss?
Yes.
Olson?
Yep.
Dave Olson? Joan Olson?
Yes.
Kevin Bourne?
Yes.
All right, motion passes 5-0. Reports and presentations. The annual financial audit presentation.
Hold on.
Oh.
Can't get this.
Oh, I suppose.
Come on.
Do you want me to?
Annika, can you pull it up? at all?
Got printouts.
What?
The printouts.
Yeah,
Oh,
we do
yeah,
have
we
the
do have the
printout.
printout.
Do we want to just do that, or do you want to wait?
Gotta love technology.
I promise this was working before.
Yeah.
Let me grab my dongle.
Do you still have a copy? If it has to do it.
Have to go in order.
Well, I don't know that we have to, so I was thinking about jumping, but I didn't know.
Okay.
I didn't know how long it would take him, so.
Sure.
Jeremy, do you want me to do a couple of these other ones, or do you think you'll get it up sooner? Maybe you have to restart your computer.
I already did.
Oh. There we go.
Okay.
Well, I'd like to welcome Greg Burkhart here from Burkhart and Burkhart. So thank you for coming, and I guess when he gets this up and going, you may begin.
Would you like me to stand?
Does it matter? I don't think it
No.
does. I think you do have to talk into the microphone, though.
All right, there we go.
And you won't hear yourself.
All right, well, hopefully
It's just on the
everyone
live
else
stream.
can-
Yeah.
I'll kind of scoot over here. Well, good evening, everyone. As the chair mentioned, my name is Greg Burkhart. I represent the firm that performed the financial audit for the school district. And what I'd like to do tonight is to go over that audit report. Okay, so I'm gonna talk to you all about what is entailed, or what does an audit entail? Give you some clarity on what we do, why we do it. We'll discuss some of the responsibilities that are held with the district versus those that are held with your audit firm. We'll go over the results of that audit. There's a few things that professional standards require that I communicate to the board, and we'll touch on those. And I want to end this presentation with an overview of the financial condition of the district. Okay, so as I go through my presentation, if there are any questions, please don't hesitate to stop me. I'm very happy to answer anything that may come up. If there are things that I do not address that are important to you, I'm very happy to answer those questions after I finish this presentation. So with that, we'll get started. All right, on this very first slide, what you see here is a description of the different responsibilities that are held with financial reporting. We start on the left-hand side. You can see that represents management's responsibilities. Okay, and management is Jeremy as the superintendent and his finance team, which includes Wendy and some of the other department heads. Management really holds two very important responsibilities. First, to make all the accounting decisions that are necessary to put those financial statements into the proper condition. Okay? Management also holds responsibilities related to internal controls. Or sometimes you hear that referred to as protecting your assets. All right, your internal controls are real simply just your policies and procedures that are in place that will safeguard those assets, whether they be your cash in the bank, your investment accounts. It does also include capital assets, so your equipment, your infrastructure, things of that nature. You need proper policies to ensure that all of those different things are safeguarded. Okay? On the right-hand side, under auditor's responsibilities, our responsibilities are really threefold, and they revolve around the separate reports that we provide during our audit. So the first report we provide is a financial opinion on those financials. So we look at the numbers that were provided to us. We try to determine, are they fairly stated based on the facts and circumstances that we find ourselves in this year. Okay. The next report that we provide is a report on your internal controls. So we look at those policies and procedures. We attempt to determine, are they appropriate? Is there anything missing that we feel should be in place? Or if there are things that are in place, are they operating the way that you intend them? We find something that doesn't quite measure up, we have a report on those specific items, along with recommendations for improvement. And then finally, and maybe most importantly, we look at compliance with Minnesota statutes, along with federal regulations as well. So the state auditor and the Department of Ed require audit firms to evaluate every district on 8 broad categories of compliance. And as we go through the documents that we review, we attempt to determine, have you been complying with those specific rules and laws? If we come across something where you do not, we have a report that describes what we find, as well as recommendations to ensure that that does not reoccur in the future. This next slide here, the next slide will just briefly summarize the results of the audit this year. So if we start on the left-hand side and move to the right, under financial opinion, you can see it states that we have issued an unmodified audit opinion. And that is your clean audit report. That's exactly what you want to hear. So the financial numbers that you see in your reports, that information has reliance. You can rely on that information to make decisions now and into the future. Okay, so that's an excellent result. The middle section on this slide describes our report on your internal controls. All right, so there are 3 items you see listed there: material audit adjustments, auditor prepared financial statements, and limited segregation of duties. These 3 items are extremely common for districts of your size and structure. As a matter of fact, these 3 items have been present for the past several years. Now, I don't want to downplay those. I mean, they are important, and I think probably the first thing you need to understand is that they are there, okay? So there are limitations in the system that you have, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there is something wrong, okay? So regarding the material audit adjustments, we had to make a few more adjustments than what the audit standards would allow. And had we not made some of those adjustments, your financial statements would have been misstated. So of course, we made those. Recommendation there is to just review the adjustments that we've created and posted. And if you try to understand those so that you are able to potentially do those on your own behalf, you're gonna have better and more accurate statements throughout the year if you're able to do that. The auditor prepared financials is something that your district has asked my firm to prepare. There's a lot involved in putting financial statements into the condition you see them tonight. Unfortunately, because we had to do that on your behalf, it is a limitation in your system of internal controls. And then finally, under limited segregation of duties, this refers to the size of your accounting staff. You know, Wendy has an awful lot of responsibilities related to reconciling the accounts, issuing payments, depositing payments and receipts and things of that nature. And there's just, essentially, she has too many responsibilities for what would be a fully segregated accounting system, okay? Again, doesn't necessarily mean there is something wrong there, but there are areas where you could potentially improve, all right? And in our report, we do describe some of those recommendations for improvement. On the far right-hand side of this slide, I believe is probably one of the best results this year for the district. And I am thrilled to report through all the compliance testing that we've done, those 8 broad categories that the state auditor asked us to evaluate, along with some of the federal regulations and rules, we didn't come across anything that caused us to believe there was non-compliance. So, job well done. I will tell you, this is not something that happens on accident. There are a lot of eyes on this information. There's a lot of conscientiousness happening to ensure that you have a clean compliance opinion. So, you should be very proud of that. All right, the next slide here contains some information that professional standards require that I communicate to the board. I don't want to spend an awful lot of time on any of these elements here, simply because this information is more fully developed in a report that we also provide in the audit. It's called a management report. Okay, so I would encourage the board to evaluate that management report. It's going to talk about these specific items in much greater detail than I have allotted this evening. But I do want to touch on the very bottom item there on this slide, the section for audit difficulties. It always got a chuckle when I see this one. One of the audit standards, we got to talk about what was difficult this year, what went wrong, or what did we have a challenge with. Well, this year it went very well. And a lot of that has to do with Wendy. She did a wonderful job getting us prepared for the audit. Jeremy, you also assisted quite a bit. The information was provided to us timely. It's when we needed it. It was in a good condition, so it certainly helped provide a more efficient and effective audit process for us. So I do want to thank you for that. All right, so that is the bulk of the kind of the legalese, if you will, of the audit that I wanted to discuss this evening. From here forward, what I want to do is talk about the financial condition of the district. Okay, so what we'll do tonight is we're gonna step back in time a little bit. We're gonna take a look at what was the district a handful of years ago. We're gonna evaluate your financial condition. We're also gonna look at where are you today, and hopefully that's gonna provide us some clues on where you're gonna find yourselves in the near future. Okay? So this very first slide that you see here is a comparison of the unrestricted fund balance of the district. Okay? you have a couple of different shaded bars there. So let me just explain what we're doing. So we're showing 6 years worth of data, all right? The blue bars represent the statewide average. Okay, so this unrestricted fund balance, you may sometimes hear it referred to as statutory operating debt. It is a formula that the Department of Ed has, and it really just represents the financial health of the overall district, okay? The red bar represents your district. So as we look at this slide, there are some very obvious trends that we are seeing, all right? So from approximately fiscal year 21 all the way through the end of the previous fiscal year 25, you can see that there's been a precipitous drop in your unrestricted fund balance or your statutory operating debt ratio. All right, so it peaked at about 54.1%. At the end of 25, you're at 9.3. That's approximately a 45% decrease over that time period. And quite interestingly, I don't think this is going to surprise anyone, that peak that you saw in 21, fiscal 21, coincided with your peak enrollment. All right, so when your enrollment is up, typically your revenues are up, you have much better fund balances. As your enrollment declines, it's natural that some of those balances will go down with it. Some of those reserves are going to be used to continue to pay the bills that you have that aren't easily overweighted. Okay. On this next slide, this one here is your financial position for your general fund. Okay, and there's a handful of elements on this slide, so let me just kind of describe what we're doing here. So again, this is for the general fund only, which is the main operating fund of the district. We also have 5 years listed there, starting in fiscal 21 forward to 25. Your cash and investment balances are represented by the blue bars. Your unrestricted fund balance, represented again by that red bar. And then the line, the gray line that you see there, represents your expenditures. Okay, so again, this slide here coincides very closely with what we saw in your statutory operating debt slide. Okay, you see some trends where things are kind of going, they're trending negatively, quite frankly. All right, so if we just focus on maybe the change from the previous fiscal year to this. So if we look at fiscal 24 to fiscal 25, your cash balances decreased, cash and investment balances decreased approximately $1.5 million. And your unrestricted fund balance also went down, not quite as much, as about $1.3 million. All right, so you ended last fiscal year with an unrestricted fund balance of approximately $700,000. Okay, and why is this important? Well, there's several reasons that this is important. It demonstrates the financial health of the district. You also have a policy for what threshold in your unrestricted you should hold. The district's policy is to have approximately 25% of your unrestricted fund balance of next year's budget, or the current year budget, all right? So at the end of fiscal 25, your unrestricted fund balance was approximately 6% of your budget. All right, so you've got a little bit of room that you need to grow that fund balance to bring yourselves back into alignment where your policy suggests that you ought to be. Okay, and really it was the last 2 fiscal years that have really had a pretty negative impact on those fund balances and your cash balances overall. Continuing on, this slide didn't turn out on the screen quite as nicely as the print-offs, but what you see here are your expenditures for the general fund. Again, as we're talking about these fund balances, there are certain things you can't control, revenues being one of the predominant ones. Again, as your enrollment increases or decreases, that revenue kind of follows those ADMs. Your expenditures, you have a little bit more control over. So I like to at least point it out and explain to the board where is that money going. All right, so I don't think it would surprise anyone here to say that your direct instruction is approximately 2/3 of your total pie or your overall expenditures. And that makes sense. Those are your salaries. It's everything you're putting into educating students. Your next largest piece there is the property and your support services. So Support services would be like food service, things of that nature. Those are the next two largest pieces of your expenditure pies, roughly 15 to 16%, respectively. Okay. The one thing I do want to point out in this slide here, your expenditures were over your amended budget by $956,000. Okay. I don't believe that's something that can continue, given the level of fund balance that you have at the end of last year. Now, that $556,000 is it's a little bit over than what you likely have seen throughout the year. So the district did purchase a bunch of Chromebooks this past year, approximately $350,000. That was a non-cash transaction because you had a lease for that. Unfortunately, accounting standards required us to show that as a capital expenditure. All right, so that $956,000 really is probably more closely to $600,000 over budget if you were to look at the expenditures that you guys have control over, the bills and the checks that you're writing for that. So, and overall, your expenditures were up approximately 6% over the previous fiscal year. All right, so we got one more slide. So what you have here in front of you are your other operating funds. All right, so there's other funds that are important to the district beyond just that general fund. We focus on the general fund because it is very important. However, there are other activities that I'd like you also to be aware of and focused on. So what you have here is just a real simple representation for your food service fund, which is the information on the left-hand side of this chart, and your community service fund. And what you're seeing are the relative fund balances for those two activities over the past 5 years. All right, so when you hear me say fund balance, what I want you to think is net worth. It's a great description of what a fund balance is. It's your equity, all right? So you can see if we just focus in on the food service fund, again, you can see a trend up, down in 23 into 24, there was a pretty significant step decrease. There was a lot of capital expenditures with the kitchen. I believe there was some refrigeration purchase, significant capital expenditures. Understandable that if you make those disbursements, your fund balance is going to decrease. The nice feature here with this food service fund is you have gained some ground back, although not a lot. You did gain some ground back here in fiscal 25, approximately $6,000. So that is something I want you to keep in mind, keep an eye on. You have a new food service company, and hopefully, working closely with them, you can get those expenditures in line and start building that fund balance back up. But the food service fund really isn't designed to carry a lot of equity or a lot of net worth. You want to make sure that you have enough available to continue that operation so that you don't run yourselves short. Now, if you have 2 years worth of deficits, there are some things that might be triggered by state law regarding either transfers or discussions with your food service company. And I've talked with Jeremy and Wendy, and they're very familiar with that. The other activity on this slide is the community service fund. This one has also been trending in a negative direction. Again, you can see some variance, some up and down there from 21, 22, 23. A fairly significant drop there in fiscal 24, and then another decrease again at the end of fiscal 25. There was approximately a $22,000 loss in fiscal 25, but that loss narrows substantially from what you saw in 24. 24, I believe it was almost 153,000. So things are turning around there. Your revenues have improved in the community service. Unfortunately, your expenditures have continued to rise as well. So there's always staffing concerns, there's always wage pressures, things of that nature, but I think it would be important for you to keep an eye on that activity, ensure that you are pricing your services, specifically the before and after care, so that you can at least break even with the services that you're providing, given the pricing pressures that you guys are facing. Okay. And there is one more slide. This is your audit team for the year. Myself, Greg Burkhardt, I lead the audit effort. Paul, Luke, and Dane assisted me in some capacity in this work, and matter of fact, probably did a lot more of the work than I did. I get to come out here and take all the credit for that. So we have a really good audit team. I enjoy what I do. I especially enjoy coming to board meetings, meeting with governance, and trying to just help you understand some financial statements that can be very difficult to understand, and try to get to the crux of what's going on there. On that slide, you will find my phone number and email address. If there are ever any concerns, any questions that you have throughout the year, our audit services don't stop after tonight. We're still available. Wendy and I keep in fairly close contact throughout the year. Matter of fact, anyone on the audit team would be very happy to help or assist or provide unbiased or unvarnished opinion if you needed something you thought we could be of help. All right, and that is everything that I want to discuss with you folks this evening.
All right.
Okay, wonderful, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Yeah.
So unlike private businesses, do you have to provide any statements with ongoing concerns? Or if you see an organization going in a pretty significant negative direction, do you have to note that in your audit?
We do, absolutely.
And did you have any of
it does
those
not
for
differ.
us?
So private to government, still in every audit, we need to look at it, we call it a going concern. And essentially what a going concern is do we see the organization or the entity, are they solvent? Are they going to be able to continue into the next fiscal year, and it's a 12-month period? So we do always evaluate that in every audit. It's nuanced with governments because you have the ability to levy, you have certain revenues that are going to come in, and you have other things that would be in play in that regard. So we looked at the district here, and we did not have a going concern with your financials. But it absolutely is something that is present in every audit. We have to give consideration to it.
And then I assume you audit other schools as well?
We do.
Do you have any, comparisons with, trends of what you're seeing with other schools versus us? Anything you could share?
Well-
I know each one's different, but again, we're all getting most of our tax dollars from the state. What are you seeing out there that you might make us aware of?
I can give you some generalities. What we're seeing, through the COVID pandemic, there was a lot of federal aids. There was an influx of state and federal aids, and that benefited the schools' financial condition during that period. And what we've seen is now that those have been kind of weaned off, that districts are having to come back and take a lot closer look at their budgets because they don't have the backstop of all of the extra money that they were putting into these activities. So it really kind of hid a lot of the structural issues that could be present in those budgets. And now, the chickens have come home to roost. And we're seeing a lot of districts. So you'll see kind of that parabolic graph that I showed you where things have gone up and up and up, and then they're starting to precipitate and they come back down. Now, that also, it's complicated by your enrollment. There are certain things that districts have that you aren't able to avoid. There are what we would call fixed costs. In a long enough time frame, everything's a fixed cost, but when your enrollment decreases, that happens immediately. Those aids that you're receiving from the state, the aids that you receive from your other organizations, those stop immediately, but your costs don't always. Your costs lag those changes. So I think my recommendation would be to evaluate strongly what your enrollment model suggests for the upcoming years and build your budget based on that and be very conservative in those numbers so that you don't turn yourselves upside down. So the district, again, it's hard to make an apples to apples comparison there because there are so many different nuances that are involved, but I would argue that you need to really do your best to predict where you think enrollment's gonna be and where you're able to tighten that budget. Do your best to get that budget to a zero sum. You don't wanna build in a structural deficit. I don't believe that the district can withstand several more years of deficit spending. That's gonna put those fund balances into a really difficult position. And then, one of the worst features of that, the state can come in. If you hit that specific mark, that statutory operating debt, if that becomes a negative number, the state can come in here and they can start making decisions and they can take that out of your hands.
Thank you.
Well,
Anyone else? All right, well, you're more than welcome to stay, but I'm sure you're very busy, so thank you for coming and presenting to us. And for all your hard work.
Yes,
And
thank you.
yours too, Wendy. Thank you for
Thank you, Greg.
everything.
Yeah.
All right, we will move on then to budget information, treasurer's report.
Sure. Yeah, this is just kind of a good segue from Greg down. As we look at our cash balances going down, I think we have a big drop there from other years, from October to November. Thanksgiving was the last week in November, and sometimes we get some of those tax payments in, and then we didn't, because it was Thanksgiving, so some of that money came in December instead of the last week in November, but, this is just, we've been looking at this every month, that it's lower than we have seen in the last few years. And then our student counts, on the next slide, I looked at, in the past, our Mars report, every so often, the secretaries in Annika send our student data to the state. Didn't include the PSEO numbers, but they do now. There's a new system in place for the colleges and higher ed institutions to get their data, their payments. So we had to do some reporting. So this estimated Mars ADM column, the 712 number is fairly true to our ADM without the PSEO students, the PSEO participation in there. So that 289.51 in the 712 number is going to be a fairly decent representation of the ADM that we can capture. And so again, the total at the bottom for the estimated Mars ADM, that 593.67 for K-12 and our ECSE, is a little higher than what we estimated for our budget. Again, just trying to be conservative. And so that includes our fall PSEO participation. We may have some more in spring. So I've kind of, the participation chart on the left is kind of an estimate for the year based on what I've seen for who's signed up for spring already as well. Other than that, I think we've seen this chart before. We can, like Greg mentioned, we can see our enrollment go up and it's coming back down, so. And since we got such a great presentation from Greg, I didn't include any other financial information this time. Any questions on anything else I can answer outside of the audit information?
So I know that we agreed to a deficit spending budget. So as we're going along here, for instance, with the audit, he would say we had 600,000, 900 the way GAAP and
Sure.
general principles of accounting are taken, but 600,000. Do we have anything that's telling us if something is getting out of whack here in the middle as far as spending goes, so we don't end up with,
Yep.
more
good
than
question.
what we even agreed to as far as the budget goes?
Yeah, now that I have the audit numbers, and we've got some more real numbers with staffing and enrollment and things like that, I will be working on a revised budget, and we'll be taking a look at that very closely in the next month, and we'll be able to give you a good report of where we're at mid-year. It's a little tricky with mid-year,
Right.
with payouts
I
and,
get that.
expenses happen at different times of the year, but we can certainly, I will certainly be watching that.
And just remind me, we're accrual or cash? I mean, as far as that goes, even though you're not getting some payments, you're still accruing for it? Okay, so
Yep,
it should
it's
level
accrual
out.
basis.
Even if,
Yep.
timing of payments,
Right.
that shouldn't affect,
Right, so.
what we're showing, because
yeah,
we
so
are
there'll be
accruing for it.
Some categories that maybe don't show 50% at half year, they'll maybe show 20% and then it'll come up later, but yeah, so it might not be a real true picture, but we'll be able to maybe spot some things.
Okay. Obviously, nobody wants to be surprised. And
Agreed.
that's the thing that we're working hard to try to
Yep,
right is that we don't end up in a different place when we're, where we thought we would.
Absolutely.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Because ideally, being conservative, then we wouldn't ever have to worry about that.
You'd have a
because
cushion
we'd
for the
have that
surprise.
cushion. Yes, yes.
Right, but
Yep.
reducing surprises plus cushion
Yes.
is ideal,
Yep,
for sure.
okay. Any other questions? All right, we'll move on to student representatives report.
Wendy, I know you have a concert.
Oh, yeah,
All right, I'm gonna go pop in.
okay.
Our student council set up some dress-up days for the week before Christmas break. So today was pajama day. There was some pretty good involvement there. And our student council also just wrapped up a Toys for Tots drive, which was pretty successful, mostly in the elementary. High school, not as much, but they still brought some in. And then our NHS, some members just finished up their Sharing and Caring Tree service project. They had about give or take 75 kids. So they were wrapping presents all week last week. And those got delivered today, I believe.
Nice. Either one of you have anything?
I used to agree with Hudson with the dress-up days. I think it's gonna be pretty good this week. I think pajama days probably will get the most people.
What are the other days that you have?
Tomorrow, it's a challenge.
Oh, tomorrow's boys are green, girls are red.
Oh, so when you say it's a challenge, what do you mean? Like,
Who dresses up more?
Yeah.
do they get something or like?
I don't know.
You just, it's just a challenge between boys and girls? Like,
It's a
yeah,
pride-
okay.
it's a
Yeah, it's a
pride
pride
thing.
thing, yeah.
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 Okay,
And then Wednesday we have ugly sweater. I think that one's a competition. I'm
Okay.
assuming
Yes, it is.
Miss
Ugly
Post is gonna
sweater.
choose that.
somebody pits, yeah, okay.
Thursday's Sparkle Day.
Mhm.
Fun.
Yeah, and then Friday's Festive Friday, so it'll be fun.
And what does that mean?
Just like
any of your
goals.
festivals.
Anything that
Festive.
you want? Okay, very cool.
It's just good to see involvement from
Yeah.
the student body, so it's
Yeah.
always fun.
School spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anything else?
How are the sports teams doing?
Good. Girls basketball doing really well. In the section, they're undefeated. We did just lose one game to Jordan in a tournament, but they are ranked in 3A, so we put up a good fight.
Nice.
Here's your boys are doing good too.
Boys basketball is doing pretty good as far as I know.
They're
I have no idea
undefeated
about
so
that.
far.
They're
Undefeated as well?
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
And then I think wrestling's probably doing good.
I have no idea.
Wrestling's doing all right. They're, have their ups and downs, but they've been doing well.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, superintendent report.
In the elementary, new reading curriculum is going well. Teachers are adapting to it. Letters training is going well. We're just about halfway through the second year of our training, so that's been going as well as it can. So great participation from our teachers in that, which is nice to see. The elementary's got a committee together. They're revamping our learning habits for the report card for next year. And Mr. Adams also is starting to do mid-year check-ins for Q-Comp. In the high school, Mr. Rysdam sent out the missing work in the F report, which looked really good. Numbers are still trending down with that. We do know that we're going to get to a point where they're going to level off, but still working on bringing those numbers down. Intervention's going well, especially in the English language arts. Students are graduating out. I think there's 10 that have graduated out so far. 2 more are going to be graduating out soon, and then they're just filling spots and helping other students. Students are becoming interested in it and wanting to get the help from the Miss Posine who does the interventions. Math is also going well. Not seeing the numbers like we are in ELA, but we are seeing some good numbers. and good success there. Mr. Rysdam is working with Mr. Kehoe, Miss O, and Miss White for an egg science class for next year, and possibly a foods science class where the kids would be getting a chemistry requirement, working with both those teachers, where 2 days a week they might go with Mr. Kehoe and learn the chemistry behind it, and then another day, or the other days, they might be with Mrs. White or Miss O doing some experiments within the classroom. So, lunch detentions have started up for us again, not only for attendance purposes, but we're starting to, more and more kids are getting put in there for behaviors, and actually it's helping. So that's something that's good to see. Working on the new math curriculum for next year, we've got it narrowed down to 2. Final decision will happen this spring after they're piloting the program. From Nikki and the activities, Region 2A has approved the track co-op being under the JWP Bulldogs on a 2-year basis. We're going to talk about it in a little bit, and then the Waterville Elysian Morristown School District school board is talking about it tonight also, and then it will go to the conference on Wednesday, and if all 4 pass it, then we will send the paperwork into the state. In 2 years, we will be evaluating all the co-ops we have with WEM. So the 10 years will be up in those 2 years, so it all works out well. And then Nikki's working on next year's calendar, already getting dates set for the games. Wendy's been busy with the audit. Levy certification will happen tonight. Like she said earlier, she's working on a revised budget with more real numbers. And then we'll be starting non-certification negotiations in January. Community ed, Samantha's working with restructuring our childcare program. The plan is to not hire a new childcare coordinator. So she'll be working with a couple of the leads over Christmas break to divide up those responsibilities. Adam in the technology and integration, access points were installed over Christmas break, or Thanksgiving break, I'm sorry. We've had some glitches here and there. He has done some updates and everything on them, and it seems to be better. New switches will get installed next week when everybody's out of the building, so be interested to see how that comes back. Annika's been busy like normal. We're switching from hire image to trusted employee for background checks for staff. We'll talk in a little bit about switching from Frontline to Red Rover. Our district newsletter will go out in January. And Wendy and Annika are also working on an updated process for bank deposits. Laura's busy like normal at the nurse's office. She's finishing up hearing and vision screening for the elementary. Tomorrow she has hearing and vision and rescreening with Ruby Ranch and Trinity. Sheila in the school resource office, she finished a 2-day training and is certified for school emergency management now. She's working on updating her DARE curriculum. And we found a few spots where kids may be vaping, so looking at what we can do to eliminate that from our school. Some things that I wanted to point out, as you all know, the Bulldog Cafe will be attending the MSBA Leadership Conference, so that'll be great. Southwest Metro and MVED, still waiting to get some information back from Southwest Metro on that. We'll make a decision in January. Once I have that information, I should have that information before our January regular meeting. And then I left a handout at each of your spots tonight from the Minnesota Association of Secondary School Principals. They've now developed a committee to look at PSEO and their recommendations. I received this the other day, took it to David, he had already seen it. But if you look at it, these are all of the things that we have concerns about, that they are wanting addressed also. So I'm glad that it's not just us, it's another group that has those same concerns with the way PSEO is handled right now. Any questions for me?
Awesome.
So along those lines, just curious, one of the areas we wanted to improve on or work on was the college and career readiness area. Just wondering, how's that going? Obviously, a lot of seniors probably have finished a lot of their college applications. They'll be hearing back from colleges at this time. Just wondering, if we've made some strides in career and college readiness, that we're doing better in that area.
Have any of you been in to see Ms. Grusendorf?
I was just with her today.
For college classes or anything along those lines? So, it seems to be that whenever I walk by or come by her office, and I do that often, she's with a student, working on something, talking about something. So, I see students in there, as far as what they're working on, talking about. I can't answer that because I'm not in there, but I can have her, what I'll do is try and have her come to a January meeting,
It'd be great.
talk about how she's,
Again,
what's
it's
going
just
on.
an area that, we've really wanted to make strides and improve in, so.
Also, today, she just sent out like a college rep visit that's on Wednesday, I'm pretty sure. Just to if you're interested in the college, you can go down to the auditorium and learn about that college.
Nice.
Thanks.
Yep.
And everything's going good with the, agreement between the city and us with the SRO,
Everything's great. The bill is a lot less now,
yeah,
so, which is wonderful.
okay.
One other thing I wanted to add with my report is, I had a good conversation with Andy Arnold last week, at a basketball game, of all places. We talked about development in Janesville itself and what the possibilities are. There are 12 lots on the west side of town that have been sold. 5 of the 12 are to one person, and I guess the plan is that they're going to divide it up for their family to all live on the 5 lots. But those are sold, ready to be built on. There is 9, I think it's 9 duplexes or townhomes that are going to be built up in the Northwoods addition coming up. And then they're working with a subcontractor to start developing the north side of the Northwoods addition to continue building in town. Now, with that, I asked the question of how is our infrastructure that we currently have in town? Will it handle this? Do we need more infrastructure or whatnot? And Andy said, no, we have plenty of infrastructure. We could add about 400 houses before we'd be concerned about that. If we add a number of businesses, then we would have some concerns, but as far as we sit right now, he thought around 400 houses, and the city already has plans for a electrical substation right down by DG. Okay, I got one more thing.
Yep.
Been some talk. I've been approached by a couple staff members, and we talked about this before, and just wanted to bring it to your attention that there's talk about wanting to possibly change the academic eligibility again from a D- to a C- to participate in activities. So just something I've started to hear from a few teachers, and teachers that are also coaches, so that will be something that will eventually be coming forward again.
And just remind me, coaches can change that themselves
Correct.
without any approval from anyone,
Right,
right?
yep.
So if they want
Well-
to do that, they can do that.
We
Can they
have-
not?
Yes, we have one coach that already does that.
Can they go down though?
They can't go down.
Okay.
They can only bring it, they can only make it
So-
more,
So there's talk about wanting to raise it.
wanting to raise it for all.
Do you foresee that they'll raise it for baseball come spring? I mean, will they just do that on their own?
I don't know if baseball will, I haven't talked to that coach, but I know track does already,
Yeah, okay.
so.
Are they, okay. You'll bring us more info.
Yes, I will.
But it sounds like they would like us to take the potential step.
Possibly, but we're gonna get both sides of that of.
Correct.
We're gonna get pushback, and I'll tell them that they need to bring the data that they have and the information.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Anything else?
no, that's it now.
Any other questions for Mr. O'Rourke? All right, committee reports. As you stated, the non-certified negotiations committee will be meeting in January 14th for our first negotiations. We did have like a pre-meeting just to understand what's going to be happening and guidelines and whatnot, so. Any questions on that? All right, we'll move to approval of the consent agenda. As always, anyone can pull anything out. Any clarifying questions anyone has? Anyone want to pull anything out? Do we still have that one policy, 3513, that I pulled that one time?
Yeah, Sherry was working on that.
Okay.
And now she's in Mexico.
Yeah, okay. All right. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
It's Kevin Bourne, do we have a second?
I'll second.
That's Dave Olson. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0. All right, old business. Discuss the change to the JWP Palmer Bus Service contract for
Right.
inclement weather days.
I haven't, there's nothing more to discuss with this. I left it on there because I didn't want to lose track of it. Still talking with other school districts to see if they're getting proposed the same change. I know St. Clair is in a bidding year for their bus service. But when I talked to them about it, they had not seen any change like this. So, still waiting to hear back from other school districts on whether they've seen this change that have Palmer bus service or if it's specific to us.
Okay. All right, 10B, approve a 2-year cooperative agreement between JWP and WM for boys and girls track and field. Any more about that?
Nothing more about this, the same information that I gave you at our last meeting. The only difference is on the application, when it comes to like the state program and whatnot, they needed the name. So it would be listed as JWP/WEM in a state program. Other than that,
No,
it's,
like if they go to state.
if
that
they
on
go
the
to
program
state,
it
it's
shows-
listed that way.
Okay,
That was a request from WEM, and we talked to Sam about it, Nikki and I talked about it, and we didn't feel like that was a big deal to add the WEM to that.
any other questions?
Have they gotten more students from WEM to be in the track and field that you've heard?
It's interesting because they did just a survey over there with their students, and I think it was that they had 17 boys that would go out for track if they joined our co-op, but there were 19 if they did not join our co-op.
Oh,
And girls, it was,
They only had 5, didn't they?
yeah, it was like 5 or 7 I can't remember that exact number. But the girls didn't have that discrepancy, so.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, do we have a motion to approve the cooperative?
So moved.
It's Joni Olson. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
That's Dave Olson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0. All right. 10C, approve moving from Frontline to Red Rover.
Annika, do you want to talk about this?
I don't have any new information other than what I presented last meeting. This system seems like it will be much more user-friendly for us on the back end and for our staff. It's also half the price. It's going to be less expensive even in our implementation year than we are currently paying Frontline. So, I would fully recommend that you approve this change. Do you have any questions for me?
I'd just like to suggest that if there is, and I know of one person at least that does do multiple schools, that maybe you just ask them how it's going, get some feedback from them, and, because I think you guys had said that a lot of the subs that we have stay here, so maybe find those that do.
Yep, we
others,
have a
so,
couple that I've had
yeah.
conversations with.
Okay, cool,
Yep.
awesome. That'd be my only suggestion. Any other questions, comments? All right, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
It's Kevin Bourne. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
It's Joni Olson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0. All right, approve the JWP EA contract MOU.
So there were a number of things that the EA asked us to put into an MOU. We approved the contract, but I forgot to have us approve the MOU. So everything is already in the contract. It's just that we need to approve this separately to move forward.
Isn't it true also that we put some things in the MOU to not put them in the contract? So we could
Yes.
kind of evaluate it
Yep.
over a 2-year period?
Yes.
Because otherwise, we could have put many of these things directly in the contract, but we
Right.
chose not to.
Yep.
Okay. Makes sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
good clarification.
Because there
Yep.
were a few things that we didn't know how it would all play out, so we wanted an opportunity to evaluate. So the next run-through,
Well,
they may want to add it to the actual contract
Mhm.
rather than leaving it in an MOU.
Okay. Any questions on that? All right. If not, do we have a motion to approve the JWP EA contract MOU?
I'll motion.
And that's Dave Olson. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
It's Joni Olson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0. Approve the JWP READ Act MOU.
So this is something we have to do for the state now that the teacher's contract is approved. We have to do an MOU for the teachers that are doing the work for the READ Act. Most of this money has already come from the state to implement the READ Act. So we are just using the remainder of the money to pay the teachers for the work they're doing outside of their contracted day.
Any questions? All right. Do we have a motion to approve the JWP READ Act MOU?
So moved.
That's Joni Olson. Do we have a second? I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0. Number 11, new business, levy certification.
Nothing has changed on this since our preliminary certification or proposed certification in September, or since our truth and taxation meeting. We're levying the maximum in almost all of the categories that we utilize these funds, so it's just the official approval at this board meeting.
Okay. Any questions? All right, and we are approving this?
I would like you to.
Okay, because it didn't say approval, so I just want to make sure. Okay, go
I would
ahead.
make a motion to approve.
Okay.
As presented.
Okay, that's Kevin Bourne. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
That's Dave Olson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nays. Say nay. Motion carries 5-0. All right, upcoming meetings. Monday, January 5th, we have our organizational meeting and study session. So plan for a little longer meeting with that, going through the organizational stuff. And we are now adjourned, and it's 6:33. Thanks, everyone.